Okay, guys, so now we're on the third leg of the stool, of the direct marketing stool. It sounds vaguely medical, which is measurement and analytics, measurement and accountability. And you remember when we talked about this in a whole class, I really made this statement as strongly as I could. As direct marketers, you're responsible for budgets. You're responsible for spending them such that they have a return on investment and they bring in results. So you've got to really ask hard questions and push hard for the best, toughest deals you can make, because it's about sales. And importantly, I put this in here. It's a little bit of a branch off the skeleton, the spine. But it is and it isn't, but it is a little bit off our logic flow here. But I just want to make sure I underline the fact that because results can be measured, we can get valid testing results. And this is such an important part of direct. Always being able to optimize, to try new subject lines, to try new offers, new creative. And then read it against the existing program. And when I say read, I mean look at the results, look at the measurements, look at the clicks, look at the sales, most importantly. Look at the type of customer you bring in with it. If you get more MVCs with a certain offer than you do with another offer. And you know this because you can measure, because you're always testing and optimizing. I like definitions. Responsible, answerable. Answerable for real results, which means dollars. I did this. I really want to blank out the cost per click here. I'm going to do it now. I don't like cost per click. I think it's BS. Because honestly, bots can do clicks, and there's clickbait, particularly if the clicks are being used to measure impressions. It's a very wishy-washy item. So I'm really talking about cost per acquisition, cost per action, or pay per order. This is what it means for direct marketing and for us. How do we define measure? Well, this is to ascertain size, amount, or degree. Here's mom measuring little Frederick, and everything in direct can be measured. Why? Because there's a click at the end of it. There's a click at the end of the interactive in the mobile, I should say. Other is not as precise. Even direct mail, I may have a special phone number for you to call. I may have a special URL for you to go to, but not everybody may call that phone number, go to that URL, you know what I'm saying? So clicks are a little firmer. And when we look at media and when we look at accountability and measurement, the big investment is in media. So media are your biggest marketing investment, and they need to be accountable. Traditional media, by which I mean out-of-home, newspapers, magazine, radio, and TV, all the non-digital media. Traditional media struggle with accountability, and they struggle with measurement. They want to prove that they can lead to sales, but it's very hard without a click in the middle to be sure. And even if you are relatively sure that you're getting a bump in sales for investing more in media, there may be other factors in there. I mean, it just gets vague without the click in the middle. Traditional media can be held accountable if they'll take a PPO deal. But other than that, they're not going to want to be held accountable. They want to sell on an impression basis. They want to sell. They'll be measurable. They say, we'll tell you how many eyeballs see. But again, they don't want to be responsible for the dollars, which puts all the risk on the marketer. Okay. Now, I say that traditional media and even interactive media also track impressions. They want to be sold on impressions too. All media want to be sold on the basis of the eyeballs. They don't want to be responsible for the sales. And there's some good reasons for that are valid. For instance, media don't normally have any say on what creative you give them. They don't have any say on the offer that you run. Maybe it's crappy. Maybe it's crappy creative. Maybe it's a bad offer. And they do it on a pay-per-order basis, and nobody gets any orders, and they don't make a nickel. So they'll take the risk. That's why they just want to. We'll give you the eyeballs. You sell them once we give you the eyeballs. Anyway, I'm spending a lot of time on this. Maybe too much. So impressions on the internet. The IAB is the Interactive Advertising Bureau. It's a terrific organization. Great training. There's certification programs for internet media sales, and particularly I think the operations, the kind of production and operations is a great thing to have. Cost maybe $500 or $600 for the training, but it'll add to your resume and add to your knowledge, even more importantly. And they also, as we saw, they've standardized banner sizes. They also defined what is an impression for all interactive media. And what they say for banners is that as soon as the page is downloaded, any ad on it gets credited with an impression. Even if the ad is, you have to scroll down on the actual page to see the ad, and hardly anyone actually sees the ad, it still gets an impression, just the way the Choice hotel reservation email worked for 800 Flowers. No one scrolled down to see the ad, so the results were horrible. Okay, you know this. I don't want to get into this again. All right, putting together a digital advertising program. I want to talk about digital advertising now, guys. You're running ads for new customers, spending money for new customers. You're sending emails to existing customers. Now, this slide has a lot of information on it. This is really meant, and I know, and I apologize, but this is meant to give you an idea of how you might put all this stuff together that we're going through here. I'm about to take you through different kinds of internet advertising. Video, rich media, banners, search, etc. The very valid question is going to be, well, now that I see all this, what the heck do I do with it? So I wanted to start with this to kind of show you what you could do with it. These are the kind of basic things you want to be doing when you're running an internet media program and a mobile media program for your company. Maybe they're already doing a lot of these things, maybe they're not. But these are the kinds of things that most companies are putting together. And you can see this here. So what is it? You want to be on Facebook. Facebook and Google are huge players. They reach the most people. They're very effective, or they wouldn't have the dollars they have. So what are you doing with Facebook to reach your target segments? You can use the self-serve platform, like most of Facebook customers do. Everything you do, you're going to test, measure, improve, and optimize. Everything, always. You want to do the self-serve platform on Google. You want to bid on some AdWords and set that up and learn about it. And test new AdWords and keep learning and keep improving. You're going to do organic search on your website. There are things you can do to your website to make it come up higher in Google searches. You guys know more than I do about social media. But you want to be doing things there. You want to have a presence. You want to have your own pages and accounts and everything else for your company. You want to start to build up followers. And, you want to be doing that. You want to involve influencers. If so, the influencer needs to line up with your brand character statement. Test, measure, improve, optimize. You want to push for buying on a pay-per-acquisition, pay-per-sale basis as much as you can. Not everybody's going to let you do that. Facebook isn't. Google isn't. Some people will, but if you don't ask, you don't get, so you try. The programmatic program is you're doing an affiliate program. Basically, you're in a programmatic program. You're setting up some automatic things in computers to let your ad be sent out to lots and lots of sites. It's called the long tail, meaning all the thousands of smaller sites out there where you can do some business. And they'll run your ad, they'll take your ad, and you'll pay based on sales or maybe based on impressions, but you won't pay very much. It'll be cents on the dollar. You have programmatic and affiliate programs going. Remarketing programs are where if you're selling something on your site and someone leaves without buying, you can send them ads as they wander through the rest of the internet. We'll talk about that. And always remember that most people are using mobile for their web more and more, and that their phone tends to be vertical. This just makes the point that Facebook and Google are getting the lion's share of ad dollars. This is just display advertising here for a 4-year period. So Facebook is huge, and if you had included search advertising, Google would be even bigger. Facebook and Google, between them, are well over 60% of all the ad dollars in the U.S., which is stunning. And now the different types of internet advertising, starting with search. 2 kinds of search, paid and organic. Now let's talk about those. That's an organic search for a truffle. Yep. Paid search on your cell phone ties into Google Maps, and Google and Apple made a deal behind the scenes, and Google is paying Apple billions of dollars for its search engine to be the default search engine for everything that happens on iPhones. And honestly, I find it a little annoying when I'm driving and I'm looking for a place to get Mexican food, that the paid the restaurants that are paying, even though they're farther away, they'll come up on top. But now, so let me just talk a tiny bit more about paid and organic. So paid, you're bidding on search words, and you're telling Google how much you'll pay every time someone clicks on your website when you come up in the search. And the more you pay, the farther up in the paid search you'll be. And you go on a self-serve platform, and you bid, and you set up a program by month, and you give me your credit card, everything like that. With organic search, you're doing things to your own site to optimize how far up you go in searches, and you're putting in more keywords in your site. You're hyperlinking back to a lot of other sites in the same space, so you look important. And so there are just a number of things you can do, and there are people who are real experts in this without really spending anything or paying Google anything to make your site do better in searches. It involves really understanding what Google's doing with their search, and they're changing it and refining it all the time, and you have to keep track of that. Display advertising. I think we're almost at the point where, I think this is where I started recording again. Banner, okay? This is a static banner. There are different sizes based on pixels. And I always liken these banners to out-of-home ads, because to me, the internet, the web used to be called the information superhighway when it first came out in the 90s. And it seemed to me the banners were like billboards on the information superhighway. They sort of pop up when you're on your trip, your journey, all over the internet, and so they're uninvited, but they have to kind of invite you in and get you involved. So banners were really the first kind of advertising on the internet. They're still the biggest in terms of dollars. And anyway, so I think we stop here, and I'm picking up with remarketing, and this brings us to an end of the part that was not recorded in our class today, I hope.